Animal Farm by George Orwell. Episode 4. Narrated by Wormhole Podcast. By late summer, word of something extraordinary had spread across the countryside. A farm where animals had thrown out their human master and now ran everything themselves. Every day, Snowball and Napoleon sent pigeons out to neighboring farms. These messenger birds carried stories of the rebellion and taught other animals a revolutionary song called Beasts of England. Meanwhile, the former owner, Mr. Jones, spent his days at the local pub, drowning his sorrows. He complained bitterly to anyone who would listen about how a pack of ungrateful animals had stolen his farm. The neighboring farmers, Mr. Pilkington and Mr. Frederick, listened to Jones, but offered little help. Secretly, each was wondering how he might profit from Jones's misfortune. But despite their rivalry, both Pilkington and Frederick were deeply afraid. What if their own animals got the same dangerous ideas? At first, the humans tried to laugh it off. They told everyone the experiment would fail within 2 weeks. The animals would surely starve without human guidance. But 2 weeks passed. Then a month. The animals did not starve. So the humans changed their story. Now they spread terrible rumors that the animals were cruel savages who tortured each other and lived in complete chaos. But here's the thing about lies. They don't always stick. Despite all the propaganda, whispers of something wonderful continued to spread. A wave of rebelliousness rippled through the countryside. Bulls that had always been calm suddenly turned fierce. Sheep broke through fences, and cows kicked over milk pails. And everywhere you could hear it, that song. Beasts of England spread like wildfire. Blackbirds whistled it in hedgerows. Pigeons cooed it in the trees. The humans pretended to find it ridiculous. Any animal caught singing was beaten. But secretly, when they heard that melody, the farmers trembled, because they heard in it a prophecy of their own downfall. Then came early October. The harvest was in, the corn was stacked, and on one crisp autumn morning, a flock of pigeons burst into the farmyard in a panic. The message they carried made every animal's blood run cold. Jones was coming back, and he wasn't alone. Through the farm gate came Mr. Jones with a gun in his hands. Behind him marched his farmhands and men from the neighboring farms, all carrying heavy sticks. They had come to take back what they believed was theirs. But the animals were not unprepared. Snowball had been studying military tactics from an old book about Julius Caesar's battles. He had a plan. Within minutes, every animal was in position. The first wave of defense took flight, literally. 35 pigeons swooped down on the men from above. While the humans swatted and cursed at the birds, geese rushed from behind a hedge and attacked their legs. But this was just a distraction. The men easily drove off the birds with their sticks. They thought they were winning. Then came the second wave. Snowball led the sheep, the donkey Benjamin, and the goat Muriel in a charge straight at the men, butting and kicking from every direction. The men struck back hard with their sticks and heavy boots. They were too strong. At Snowball's signal, a sharp squeal, all the animals suddenly turned and fled toward the farmyard. The men shouted in triumph. They thought they had won. They chased the fleeing animals right into the farmyard. And that was exactly what Snowball wanted. It was a trap. From the cowshed burst the 3 great horses, the cows, and the rest of the pigs. They had been hiding in ambush. Now the men were surrounded. Snowball gave the signal to charge and hurled himself straight at Jones. Jones raised his gun and fired. The pellets tore bloody streaks across Snowball's back, and a sheep fell dead. But Snowball did not stop. All 15 stone of him slammed into Jones's legs. The farmer crashed into a pile of manure, and his gun flew from his hands. But the most terrifying sight of all was Boxer. The enormous horse reared up on his hind legs, his massive iron-shod hooves striking like hammers. His first blow struck a young stable lad from Foxwood. The boy dropped to the mud and did not move. Panic swept through the men. They dropped their sticks and ran. Every animal on the farm gave chase, biting, kicking, trampling. Even the cat leapt onto a cowman's shoulders and sank her claws into his neck. Within 5 minutes, the invasion was over. The men fled down the road in shameful retreat, with a flock of geese hissing and pecking at their heels the whole way. But back in the farmyard, not everyone was celebrating. Boxer stood over the fallen stable lad, gently trying to turn him over with his hoof. His great face was filled with sorrow. He murmured sadly that he had never meant to kill anyone. He had forgotten he was wearing iron shoes. Who would ever believe it wasn't on purpose? Snowball, still bleeding from his wounds, had no patience for this. He declared that war was war, and the only good human was a dead one. Boxer shook his great head slowly. He said quietly that he had no wish to take life, not even human life, and his eyes remained full of tears. Suddenly someone cried out, "Where was Molly?" The pretty white mare was nowhere to be found. Had the men taken her? They found her hiding in her stall, her head buried in the hay. She had run away the moment the first shot was fired. Molly had never been very brave. And as for the stable lad? It turned out he was only stunned. While everyone was searching for Molly, he had woken up and quietly slipped away. Now the celebration could truly begin. The animals gathered in the yard, each one eager to tell their own story of the battle. Everyone had been a hero, at least in their own telling. The green flag was raised high, and "Beasts of England" rang out across the farm again and again. Then came a more solemn moment. The sheep who had died was given a hero's funeral, with a hawthorn bush planted on her grave. Snowball stood at the graveside and spoke. He reminded them all that every animal must be ready to die for Animal Farm, if the cause demanded it. Freedom, he said, was worth any sacrifice. The animals decided to create a medal. Animal Hero, First Class. It was really just an old horse brass they found in the harness room, but it meant everything. Snowball and Boxer were awarded this honor, to wear on Sundays and holidays. The fallen sheep received a medal too. Animal Hero, Second Class, awarded after death in recognition of her sacrifice. She had given everything for the dream of freedom. After much discussion, the animals decided what to call this day. It would forever be known as the Battle of the Cowshed, named for the place where their clever trap had been sprung. As for Jones's gun, they found it lying in the mud where it had fallen. They decided to set it up at the base of the flagpole, like a captured cannon. Twice a year, they declared, this gun would be fired in celebration. Once on the anniversary of the Battle of the Cowshed, October the 12th, and once on Midsummer Day, the anniversary of the rebellion itself. And so the animals of Animal Farm had won their first great battle. They had proven that they could not only run a farm, they could defend it. The humans had been beaten back, at least for now. But as the sun set on that October evening, some questions lingered. Could an animal truly celebrate victory in war? Could freedom built on violence ever truly be free? These were questions the animals didn't have time to answer. For now, there was a farm to run, a dream to build, and a future to create. The Battle of the Cowshed was won, but the story of Animal Farm was only just beginning.